There was once a country with a flag, a capital, a parliament, and the hopes of more than 3 million people. It lasted 4 years, and today you won't find it on any map. In 1958, a British princess stood in a hall in Trinidad and declared the West Indies Federation open to the world. By 1962, it was gone. Not conquered, not invaded, but quietly dissolved by the very people who had built it. This is the story of the country the Caribbean almost became. And it leaves me with a question that only gets stranger the longer I sit with it. Look at the Caribbean. Dozens of islands sharing one sea, one history, one rhythm, often the same colonizer and the same language. So why are there so many flags? Why isn't the Caribbean one country? The idea is older than almost any country there now. Back in 1915, a Grenadian newspaperman, Theophilus Marichaud, printed 3 words on his masthead that became a rallying cry. The West Indies must be West Indian. His logic was simple, and to me it still holds. Alone, these were tiny colonies, easy to ignore and easy to rule. Together, they could be something the world had to take seriously. After the Second World War, Britain, tired of paying for its scattered possessions, agreed to let them try. In 1947, leaders met in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and accepted the principle. Many islands, one nation, one voice. It took 11 more years of arguing, but on the 3rd of January 1958, the West Indies Federation was born. 10 territories, from Jamaica in the northwest to Trinidad in the south, under a single flag designed by the artist Edna Manley. A blue sea, white waves, a golden sun. A Barbadian, Sir Grantley Adams, became its first and only prime minister. But here's the first thing that puzzled me. The 3 most powerful politicians in the region, Norman Manley and Alexander Bustamante of Jamaica and Eric Williams of Trinidad, all refused to run for the federal parliament. They stayed home, ruling their own islands. The nation was real, but its biggest names had already decided that leading it was someone else's job. And that hints at the deeper problem. On paper, the Federation was a country. In practice, it was barely a committee. It wasn't allowed to collect income tax for its first 5 years. It survived on a fixed payment from the islands, most of it from Jamaica and Trinidad. There was no shared customs union, and there was no freedom of movement. The larger islands feared being flooded by workers from the smaller ones, so a citizen of this single nation often couldn't move freely within it. Even the capital was a humiliation. Eden, meant for Chaguaramas in Trinidad on land leased to the United States as a naval base, the Federation had no power to reclaim. So picture it, a country that couldn't tax, couldn't open its own borders, and couldn't control its own capital. The giants resented paying for the small islands. The small islands feared being swallowed. And Jamaica, hundreds of miles to the west, felt it had joined a club it could barely see. The cracks weren't in the building. They were in the blueprint. And in the autumn of 1961, those cracks became a collapse. I'll show you exactly how it broke. But first, a quick word about why I'm telling you this story at all. Caribico is a movement, a community, and a global network built to unite the Caribbean and its diaspora around the world. We're taking a region of brilliant minds, taught to think small, and turning it into one connected force with a single voice. A Caribbean strong enough to shape its own future. What was missing was never the will, it was the structure. We do it through chapters led by youth, students, and allies, each running a flagship event every month of the year. Real programs, real funding, real change, and a place for you inside all of it. The hardest part is done. What you build on it is yours. So start a chapter, join one near you, or back the mission with a donation through givebutter@caribico.org. We're a registered nonprofit. By year's end, we aim for over 100 chapters across 6 continents. The next chapter of the Caribbean is yours to write. Begin it at caribico.org. Caribaea Unita. One Caribbean. One future. When we left the Federation, it was cracking. Here's how it broke. In Jamaica, Alexander Bustamante had turned against the project and reframed the question brilliantly. The vote, he argued, wasn't really about federation. It was about whether Jamaica should chase independence alone. On the 19th of September 1961, Jamaica held a referendum. About 54% voted to leave. Norman Manley, who had championed the dream, accepted his people's verdict and let Jamaica go. And that one decision was fatal, because of arithmetic. With Jamaica gone, Trinidad would carry most of the budget, while the small islands held most of the votes. Eric Williams said it plainly, in a line that still echoes, 1 from 10 leaves not. One island leaves, and nothing remains. On the 31st of May, 1962, the Federation was dissolved. It had lasted 4 years and 5 months. The country, the Caribbean, almost became simply stopped being. What came next still feels to me like a tragedy of what could have been. Jamaica and Trinidad took independence within months. Barbados followed in 1966. One by one, the smaller islands went their separate ways. Each a new flag, new borders across a sea you can cross in an afternoon. The St. Lucian economist Sir Arthur Lewis, later a Nobel laureate, fought to save at least a smaller union of the Eastern Islands. He failed. In his book, The Agony of the Eight, he warned that islands going it alone would pay for it. Too small, separately, to bargain or build at scale. The dream returned, smaller and softer, as a trade bloc. Carifta in 1968, then CARICOM in 1973. But the idea of one nation was finished. And today, the most visible things these countries still truly share are a university and a cricket team. But I have to be honest about the story I've told. All of it, Mary Show, the Federation, Jamaica's vote, was about one slice of the Caribbean, the English-speaking islands Britain happened to own. And that's the part that keeps tugging at me, because the real Caribbean is so much bigger. It runs from Guyana and Suriname on the mainland up through every island of the Greater and Lesser Antilles to the Bahamas, and reaches into Central America, to Belize, and the Caribbean coast of Panama, and by culture, out to Bermuda. Some were taken by the French, some the Spanish, some the Dutch, 4 colonial languages across one shared sea. Around 45 million people who, despite every border, so often recognize themselves in one another. The same music, the same food, the same memory, the same soul. So the question grows. It was never just about the British Caribbean. It's, why isn't the Caribbean, all of it, one country? And maybe the collapse isn't only a failure. Maybe it's an instruction. Because the dream didn't die because unity was impossible. It died because of how it was built. No money of its own, no open borders, no shared purpose strong enough to outweigh the pull of each island's flag. The will was there. The design was not. And the region seems to be learning that in real time. In October 2025, 4 nations, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, did the one thing the Federation never could. They opened their borders to each other completely, letting citizens live, work, and stay freely. As Barbados's Prime Minister Mia Mottley put it, they were moving from dreaming to doing. Whether that becomes the foundation of something larger or just another beginning that fades, I don't know. But for the first time in a long time, the question feels open again. The Caribbean story isn't finished. The next chapter is still being written. To learn more about who we are and how you can be part of it, visit caribico.org.